I love Louis C.K. and he's a good filmmaker, but his movies suck besides Pootie Tang. And Pootie Tang is really good. It's original and weird and quirky and just its own movie and just eccentric. And go out and watch Pootie Tang. And he's done other really great things too. He's a good filmmaker. The show Louie is just awesome. Several episodes of Louie are like their own little short films. They're just wonderful. And not even little. There's arcs of seasons, like the elevator one, that the episodes all go together and they're great and they tell a story and they're just films. Like he would take half a season of his show and just make a movie out of it. It's awesome. It's also very weird and not afraid to take risks. It laid the groundwork for some of the best modern TV shows. Shows like Aziz Ansari's Master of None and Atlanta. There's episodes of Atlanta and Master of None that are similar tonally and stylistically as what Louie was doing with his show. And they both have episodes that feel more like their own original movie than another episode of a TV show. And he also made the show Better Things with Pamela Adlon, and Better Things is a great show. Better Things is one of the best female-run, female-centric shows ever. What else is better? Girls? Girls was good at first. I liked Girls for the first season a lot, and the second season was pretty good, but Girls did not stay on its trajectory of greatness. That show died off really quickly. But Better Things got better as it kept on going. Better Things is a great show. But then as for the rest of Louis C.K.'s movies, he made a movie called Tomorrow Night, which came out in like 1998, like a couple film festivals, and it didn't really get any distribution. It's a experimental, absurdist film that he made, and you know what? He probably, for the rest of these movies, besides Pootie Tang, it's probably, he accomplished his goal with that one, probably. He made the movie he seemingly wanted to make with that. It's this weird, experimental, absurdist film. It's not going to be commercially viable, or really, it's not going to be everyone's thing. He threw it up on his website later in like 2014, and then there's I Love You, Daddy, which was supposed to come out, but then the whole Louis C.K. scandal happened, and the movie never ended up coming out. I was excited for it. I actually pre-ordered tickets online. I got an email after the scandal from the movie theater canceling my tickets, but I was excited to go. And, I probably happy I didn't have to sit in the movie theater and watch that movie. I ended up watching it at home anyway, but that is not a good movie at all. I get what he was going for. On paper, that movie sounds cool. It's a movie about what it's like to be a fan of Woody Allen. It's about what it's like to be a fan of this guy when he really is this really creepy pedophile guy that's dating young girls. And is that okay? And what does that make you feel as a fan of the artist when the artist is like that? Which is interesting that it came out about Louis C.K. then. It's really kind of symbolic about him too, because people felt that he's some weird sex creep. But really, the thing that Louis C.K. did, it's not a big deal. Woody Allen is definitely like a big time creep. Louis C.K. did something, he has a weird sexual kink or something, but like, it's not Woody Allen. Woody Allen married his stepdaughter. So, that's a clear case of grooming and just is absolutely gross. And that's what, this movie wants to show. This movie's I Love You, Daddy is about that. The movie's about Louis C.K., who's like a TV producer, and he's a big fan of this famous filmmaker who's known for dating younger women. So John Malkovich is just playing Woody Allen. He doesn't act anything like him, but that's who he represents in the movie. And then Louis C.K. has a younger daughter played by Chloe Grace Moretz. And then in the movie, you have to watch Chloe Grace Moretz date this filmmaker played by John Malkovich. So you get to see Louis C.K. He's a fan of this filmmaker, and now he has to see this filmmaker date his younger daughter, and like, what are his thoughts on this guy now, and what are our thoughts as the audience as we're watching this. And it sounds interesting, and on paper maybe it was okay, but when you watch it, it's just such a creep fest. It's just young Chloe Grace Moretz. She's just all hugging up and all with John Malkovich, and it is just so gross. It just really skeeves you out. It's just, she looks like a kid and he looks like someone's grandpa, and it's just really gross to see together. He's like a senior citizen with this young girl, and it's just like, It's like that Josh Peck movie, The Whackness. There's an awful scene where you have to watch one of the Olsen twins and Ben Kingsley together. Oh, it's so gross. Ben Kingsley is like, 60, 70 years old, and the Olsen girl is like, in her young 20s, and you just have to watch them together, like naked and all. I don't know. I don't even remember what the exact memory was and what they do, but it's just so gross. That's what I remember. I remember hating that and just being like, oh God, why is she doing this? The world knows Chloe Grace Moretz as Hit Girl from Kick-Ass, a role that made her famous at 12 years old. So I can understand where Louis C.K. is coming from by casting her for this role. She's this young woman that the public views as a young girl, but in reality, all it does is make this movie only appeal to the perverts who were following Olsen twins' countdown to their 18 websites. Yeah, so that's what this movie is. This movie is like watching something that's like, oh, really just gross and hard to watch the entire time. And like maybe as a book, this would have been a good idea, but actually watching this young actress and this old man do this stuff, it's just gross and it's hard to watch. And yeah, I mean, without the whole scandal involving Louis C.K., it's just not a good movie. And definitely not a movie for me. Stanley Kubrick is the greatest filmmaker of all time and probably always will be. I have no interest in Lolita. I've tried watching it a couple times and it just skeeves me out. And pretty much this sequence from Lolita sums up the entire tone and energy of this movie. And I know Lolita is based on a book, and I said that maybe the written version of this would be okay, but I don't know. The whole concept in general just seems like avoid it. Let's not do it. And he loves the black and white, huh? I get that Lolita was black and white, so it's kind of a reference to that. But his movie before this was black and white too, his first film. He really loves that artsy black and white shit. And then, he announces he's going to make this other movie, 4th of July. And it's like, okay, maybe that's going to be good. 4th of July, that could be good. I don't know much about this comedian. I actually never heard of him before. So I was like, oh, that could be good. I love comedy. I know about a lot of comedians, but I don't know Joe List. I was like, maybe this is going to be awesome. Pootie Tang's good. Maybe this is going to be good too, He had one real big clunker, but maybe this is going to be great. But no, the movie wasn't good. I'm not going to give a long critique of it, but it wasn't anything I cared for. It was just a very typical independent movie, just told a simple story, and I didn't think it any sort of interesting way. There wasn't any performance that really stood out to me. There wasn't any scene that stood out for me. There's supposed to be this big moment of the movie that it's building up to, where he gives some speech to tell them all what he feels about his family, and he just ends up telling them to fuck off. And I guess I heard Louis C.K. talk that there was this big speech, and then they cut it all from the movie, and he liked it better this way. But that to me could have not saved the movie, but made it something to me. But without that sequence, it just felt like a whole movie of people sitting around and nothing I wanted to watch. This is what I remember. This is what I picture when I think of this movie. Joe List sitting in a fucking lawn chair. And then we had to see Louis C.K. touting Joe List and parading him around all these podcasts. And it was really hard to watch because this Joe List guy is nothing special. I mean, if you just sat through and watched this movie 4th of July, and now you go and watch these Louis C.K. appearances that as a Louis C.K. fan, he doesn't do much press. So you're excited about it. Oh, good. I get to see Louis C.K. do all this shit. I get to hear Louis C.K. on all these podcasts with all these different comedians. It's going to be a lot of fun. But every appearance he just brings Joe List with, and he just talks about how Joe List is the greatest actor ever, which is oh my God, I just saw the movie. He's not good. The movie isn't good. He's not terrible, but the movie isn't good.
I didn't know if he would have the mechanics right, but he's very natural. I never had to talk to him once during the filming. It was just, he gave me a lot of room to really do better.
He's a better actor than Chalamet.
Say that again.
I think that he's a better actor than Timothée Chalamet.
Have you seen Dune?
Yes, that is the third worst movie I ever saw.
Great. So you think Dune sucked?
Yeah, I hated it.
Are you a fan of anything good?
Yeah, I'm a fan of all the good things.
Ooh, and this Joe List guy is just so lame. I mean, he's thinks he's this cool bro dude. He's always smoking cigars. It's just oh my God, this cigar thing. It was horrible when Joe Rogan picked up cigars, and then every other comedian after Joe Rogan had to be oh, I smoke cigars too. I mean, maybe I heard of Bill Burr doing it first. Maybe Bill Burr got Joe Rogan to do it. So I'm not going to act like Bill Burr is a Joe Rogan follower. Bill Burr's awesome. Joe Rogan's awesome too. But my God, the cigar smoking thing is so douchey. And this Joe List guy looks like such a lame. He's just this little squirrely, spindly dude, and he's smoking these big cigars. Oh my God, he looks like such an asshole.
Now listen, I got a few more items of things that are pissing me off. And this one comes in the form of a question. Haven't we had about enough of this cigar smoking shit in this country? Huh? Jesus. God. When is this going to end? When is this shit gonna go away? When are these fat, arrogant, overpaid, overfed, overprivileged, overindulged, white-collar business criminal asshole cocksuckers gonna put out their cigars and move along to their next abomination? White pussy businessmen sucking on a big brown dick. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it was. Yeah. A big brown dick. Sigmund Freud said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Oh yeah? Well, sometimes it's a big brown dick. With a fat, arrogant, white-collar business criminal asshole sucking on the wet end of it. But hey, the news is not all bad for me. Not all bad. You want to know the good part? Cancer of the mouth. Good. Fuck 'em.
The peak annoyance of Joe List was there's this episode of the Flagrant podcast. And of course, Louis C.K. brings Joe List with, although you wouldn't know it until you click on the video, they don't include Joe List's picture or name anywhere in the description or thumbnail on YouTube. And once again, he's saying that Joe List is the greatest actor ever and Joe List is so wonderful. And what's much worse than that is that Louis C.K. is just an asshole this entire time. You can tell he's done way too many interviews. He's just done way too many podcasts trying to promote this movie, and he's not interested in this one. He doesn't care about these guys. He doesn't know Andrew Schultz. He doesn't care about Akash Singh. He just doesn't know or care about these dudes. And honestly, he doesn't like them. You can tell he doesn't like them. You can tell he tells them multiple times that they're stupid. He calls them dumb, like each one of them many times.
This is the third time you've called me dumb.
I'm saying that things you're doing
I'm
are
gonna
dumb.
keep counting them.
I'm saying that the things you're saying are dumb.
Okay.
That doesn't make you dumb.
An IQ test, objectively, there's a low score. That's a stupid person.
Yeah.
It's like a tested thing. This is science here.
Oh, okay. I guess he's right.
Do you not trust the science, bro?
Yeah, no, I don't trust the science. You can't trust science. Yeah, you started out really smart. You got stupid at the end. See.
Oh, now they're stupid.
What? Yeah,
Now they're
see, that's
stupid.
what I'm saying. People go in and out of
You
stupid.
like to let people know when they're being dumb or stupid, Louis.
What they're saying is stupid. Yeah, it's a good word. It's a good valuative word.
Are
I
you
don't think
are you
valuative is a word.
projecting something, maybe? Do you feel stupid?
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
I feel stupid all the time.
From the very start, he's just really rude to these guys, and you can tell he doesn't like them, and then he just continues to insult them and call them dumb and act like Joe List is the greatest guy ever.
Louis, thank you.
I didn't do it for you.
No. Louis, we went over
I
this
didn't even
before.
know you existed. I didn't even have a sort of like an abstract notion of you or anybody else.
You immediately asked how much money I made.
Of course I did.
And when you
data.
found out I made less, you were like, I'm really proud of you. And,
Is that what you think?
no, but you wouldn't tell me how much you
I
made.
didn't tell you how much I made.
After you asked me how much.
That's right.
That's
I
unfair.
asked you.
It was
well,
dirty.
it's like poker. It's like, what are your cards? I'm not gonna. It's not an exchange.
Is that,
You
is that-
didn't say.
Is that a part of poker? What
You
are
didn't
your
say-
cards?
sometimes people ask people, what do you have? And it's an interesting tactic in poker. They don't expect them to tell them. But you go, what do you have there? And then they look at their face after they
That's
ask.
interesting because he thought this is friendship and you thought this is poker.
Yeah. You were playing poker against me.
It's all poker.
Joe List doesn't do anything to contribute to this conversation. There's all this laughing and arguing going on, and Joe List just sits there smoking his cigar. It's a really weird mix. He's promoting Joe List like he's awesome, and then he's insulting these guys, and these guys come across smarter and better and funnier than Joe List does. And more than that, Louis C.K. just comes off really arrogant, and it made me look at him a little differently because I never thought of him as arrogant. He always comes across like he's a humble guy, where here he comes across like Jerry Seinfeld. He comes across very entitled, and I love Jerry Seinfeld, but he's very elitist, and that's how Louis C.K. is coming across here. And he's even really weird about money. I mean, that's like what a lot they're arguing about. He's very weird about money, which is just strange because he's a super rich guy, and he's very weird about money, and he keeps on talking about like corporate and their corporate numbers, and he's getting all this corporate data, and he's not going to give away his corporate data, his industry. He calls it his industrial data. It's very weird. Louis C.K. is like stumbling over his words constantly throughout here. Like he's not even eloquently talking to these guys.
You didn't say, are you going to tell me? You just told me. You just told me. You gave me fucking industrial data. You gave me industry data with no prior, agreement. You just said, I asked you, you told me. It's astonishing.
You said
A person does that.
I go,
Make
but then
up
I
that
asked
stuff.
you in the same way. I was like, do you feel comfortable with me asking you? And then you pause for a moment and you say, no, I do not.
Well, you see, you rewrite things a lot because that's not all what happened. That's not all what happened.
Yeah, that happens.
It's interesting, but it's not because you're lying. It's because you hear yourself differently. You just said that you said, do you feel comfortable with me asking?
Yeah.
That didn't happen at all. You
What'd
just
I
said,
say?
do you mind if I ask you?
Hey.
That's very different. Do you feel comfortable
Do you feel
with me
comfortable?
asking?
Yeah.
Which is a dumb question.
Yeah.
Because you're going to ask somebody that before you ask a question? It's fucking stupid. That doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, I don't want you to know how much I made on my shows. That's corporate data.
I know how much you made at least.
Do you?
Yeah.
What do you mean? How do you know that? I don't even care what you think you know.
Well, you told us
But
how much
do
you
know
lost.
that?
I know you made more
Yeah.
than me, so I know at least how much you made.
This is more interesting to me. I don't even care if you're filming this. I'm so interested. Why do you think you know that I made more than you?
You have a bad poker face, bro.
That's interesting.
Sometimes people ask people things knowing they're not going to get an answer, and then
Yeah.
they just judge by the way you look at them.
But it's even dumber than having a bad poker face is believing that you know somebody's poker face before you've even seen their
This is the
cards.
third time you've called me
And
dumb.
I'm saying that things you're doing
I'm
are
gonna
dumb.
keep counting 'em.
I'm saying that the things you're saying are dumb.
Okay.
That doesn't make you dumb. Nobody is stupid. You understand?
He just seems perturbed and aggravated, and he's just shit-talking them. Which I can imagine as some fans of Louis C.K., this is funny. And, I love it when Norm Macdonald or any comedian will just mess with an interviewer. But these are other comedians. Like, you agree to come on these other comedian shows, and you're just not showing them any respect, and it just comes across just calling people dumb like this, like fellow comedians, like these guys you agreed to go on their show. I mean, you're promoting your movie. They let you come on their show to promote your movie, and you're going to call them dumb. And these aren't just some morning TV show hacks. Like, these are some comedians that people like. The best is, though, he's bragging about how great Joe List is, and he's calling them dumb. And then Joe List gets everything completely wrong, and like, he's the dumb one. He's the only one that says something like so obviously wrong and dumb in the whole episode. And Louis C.K. doesn't say anything like, he says no to him. But Louis C.K. is still acting like Joe List is the best, and these guys are morons.
Like Stephen Hawking, the guy with the that guy, he had a whole theory that he created that changed everything.
Relativity.
No. And then he had
Relativity, actually. Yeah. Right? Everything's relative. Wasn't that the name of the movie?
That was Einstein.
A sitcom?
Einstein.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
He was smart. He wore the same thing every day.
I thought that was
guy?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't do it then. I mean, like, look into these guys. You can go and check out their podcast. These guys have plenty of stuff on the internet. If you don't want to go on one of these guys' shows because you don't like them, don't. And like, look it up. Look them up first. I mean, you can really spend 5 minutes of research and click on one of their videos and be like, I don't like this guy. I think he's a moron. Instead, you're going to go on his show and literally just call him dumb multiple times. And I'm no Andrew Schultz defender. I don't watch his show, I've heard him say funny things over the time. I don't hate him in any sort of way. He doesn't seem to me to be a complete moron. I've seen him on Joe Rogan be annoying, that's for sure. I mean, he's one of these guys who goes like, yeah, oh, he does that when people are talking, and that's really irritating. But besides that, he doesn't seem to be some sort of moron like Louis C.K. is making him out to be. It's like, don't go on the podcast. Don't go on the podcast. You don't have to. You don't have to go on every single comedian's podcast to promote your mediocre movie. You can be like, oh, I don't like these guys. Let's not do this one. Not let's go on it and just call the guy dumb and call him and his friends dumb multiple times. Then I saw a podcast a few months later, and it seemed like Louis had learned from his experience with Andrew Schultz. He's on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and he admits to Theo Vaughn that he's not really familiar with his comedy or with him, but he came because he respects him, because, he's a big comedian. And that's exactly what he didn't do for Andrew Schultz. He didn't go like, I don't know you, but you're a big comedian, I'm going to respect you. And Louis also says that he looked Theo up online and looked up his bits to get to know him before he went in there. Once again, he didn't do that with those other guys. So it seems like he learned from what he did with Theo, and it's like, yeah, if I'm going to go on a comedian's podcast, I got to make sure I like and respect this comedian before I go on there. So that's cool. It's not like this whole thing with Andrew Schultz made me hate Louis or anything, but seeing this interview with Theo just makes me realize he's just kind of out of touch with the current comedy scene. He's an older guy. He's a veteran of comedy, so he's not familiar with all the young new guys.
I thought, well, I'm doing this guy's podcast. I don't really know your work.
Yeah.
Like, I know who you are. I just automatically respect that you're successful because I know how hard comedy is.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, I don't know, I should hear his voice. I should hear it. So I'm kind of ready for bed. I don't want to do anything, but I put my phone on iTunes. I found one of your albums.
As for Joe List, I'll probably just forget about this guy. He'll be the guy that made that movie with Louis C.K., and that's about it. He just came off very milquetoast to me. Didn't find him likable or interesting in his movie. Didn't find his stand-up particularly unique. don't find him to be very likable on podcasts. He really is like the complete opposite of Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis is the most likable. Not only does he come off as like super affable and just like a likable dude, but he's also an asshole. Like he can make fun of everybody. And that's what everyone likes about him. He just seems like that guy you would like to be in the situation. You know, he's like an avatar for everybody. It's like all the fans of Joe Rogan would like to be Shane Gillis. He just like entered this world out of nowhere. And now he's just accepted as part of this world. And he doesn't like suck up to anyone. He tells them they all suck. He tells Ari about how old and gross he is. He tells Jamie how gay and useless he is. It's just so funny, you know? It's just great. He's an avatar for the fans. Exactly what Joe List isn't. And I feel like a lot of Shane Gillis' success is due to that. And then that's no slight on Shane Gillis. Being likable and affable and being awesome in any given situation is not a slight whatsoever. What makes him especially great is that he's able to just be himself, and himself is this fun breaking balls guy, and he's able to be that in most situations. He's able to just talk to Joe Rogan like he's known him forever and make fun of Joe Rogan to his face, and it's just wonderful to see.
I read this guy's book. I started running stairs because of this dude.
You read a kickboxer's book?
Oh, yeah. I read
dumb as fuck.
I'm dumb as fuck. I've read about 30 kickboxers books. Every kickboxer book that anybody ever wrote, I read.
I did sit-ups, and then I kicked that guy in the fucking head.
Wrote this song. What do you tell me what you think? Okay. Hey, mama rock me. What do you think?
Fucking gay.
Of all the Asians in the history of Asia, right, what would I have been like 300 years ago?
I don't know. I feel like you guys have like two jobs. You're either like in the fields or a samurai.
Yeah.
You strike me as more of a field Asian.
What?
Guys have little loads, they get sad. Like,
it is depressing.
What's all that about?
Yeah. Jamie, you have little loads.
How do you know?
How do you know?
Don't worry about it, brother.
What are you looking at?
Ari is edgy and shocking, which is a really cool thing for a 50-year-old guy to be. Isn't it cool? Ari, it's sad to see you failing like this. Ari is having a tough time selling tickets, which is sad. Kim.